The nursing home on Maple Street had 87 residents, most of them forgotten by families too busy to visit, most of them waiting for days that all looked the same. Breakfast at 8, lunch at noon, dinner at 5, lights out at 9. Repeat. Donald Trump had been volunteering there for 8 months. 73 years old, retired Army sergeant, came every Thursday afternoon to play chess with the veterans. Usually 5 or 6 showed up, men who'd served in Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf, men who understood what it meant to carry memories nobody else wanted to hear. That Thursday afternoon, Donald arrived at 2 p.m. as always, signed in at the front desk. The receptionist, a kind woman named Gloria, looked upset. "Everything okay?" Donald asked. She lowered her voice. "Room 247, Mr. Peterson. He's refusing to eat again. 3rd day now. How long has he been here?" 2 months. Family put him here after his wife died. Haven't visited once. Not once in 2 months. Donald felt his jaw tighten. Anyone talk to him? The nurses try. He just turns away, stares at the wall. I think he's given up. Donald looked down the hallway. "What room did you say?" 247. Donald nodded. "I'll be there after chess. If you believe that the forgotten deserve to be remembered, type dignity and subscribe." Because this story proves that sometimes the greatest gift we can give is simply showing someone they still matter. The chess games went quickly that afternoon. Donald's mind was elsewhere. On room 247, on a man who'd stopped eating. On what that meant. He'd seen it before. In war, in hospitals. When someone stops eating, they've made a decision. They're just waiting for their body to catch up. After the last chess game, Donald walked to room 247, knocked gently. No answer. He opened the door anyway. The room was small, sterile. 1 bed, 1 chair, 1 window with blinds half closed. And in the bed, a man, thin, gray, probably 80-something, staring at the wall. "Mr. Peterson?" No response. "My name's Donald Trump. I volunteer here. Mind if I sit?" The man didn't move, didn't speak. Donald took that as permission, sat in the chair. They sat in silence for 5 minutes. Finally, Donald spoke. "I heard you're not eating." Still no response. "That's your choice? You're right. But I thought maybe you'd talk to me about why." The man's voice was barely a whisper. Nothing to say. "Nothing to eat for?" Donald nodded slowly. "Your wife passed." The man's jaw trembled. 58 years? 58 years we were married, and now she's gone. And my kids, they put me here like I'm garbage. They don't want to deal with anymore. "I'm sorry." The man finally turned his head, looked at Donald. "You don't know me. Why do you care? Because nobody should die alone thinking they don't matter." The man's eyes filled with tears. "I don't matter. Not anymore. What's your first name?" "Arthur." "Arthur, I'm going to tell you a story about a soldier I knew. His name was James. We served together in Vietnam. Good man, brave, saved my life twice." Arthur listened, still looking at Donald. After the war, James came home, got married, had kids. Normal life. But the war stayed with him. PTSD, nightmares, all of it. His family didn't understand. Thought he should just get over it. By the time he was 65, his wife had left, kids didn't talk to him. He ended up in a place like this. Alone. What happened to him? Donald's voice was quiet. He stopped eating. Just like you. Gave up. Arthur looked away. "See? That's what happens. We become invisible." Donald leaned forward. "That's not the end of the story." "What?" "I found him. 3 days before he would have died. Sat with him just like I'm sitting with you. And I asked him one question." Arthur waited. "I asked him, if you could do one thing before you die, what would it be?" Arthur was silent. James said he wanted to see the ocean one more time. He grew up by the sea. Hadn't seen it in 30 years. "So what did you do?" I checked him out of that place, drove him to the coast. We sat on the beach for 6 hours. He cried, laughed, told me stories about his childhood, and then he said something I'll never forget. He said, "I forgot I was still a person. This place made me forget I was still alive." Arthur's breathing changed. Where is James now? He's still alive? 83 years old, lives in a small apartment near the beach, volunteers at an aquarium, talks to school kids about marine life. Eats 3 meals a day because he has a reason to wake up. Donald looked directly at Arthur. He was 3 days from dead. Now he's teaching kids about starfish. All because someone reminded him he still mattered. Arthur wiped his eyes. "What's your question for me? If you could do one thing before you die, Arthur, what would it be?" Arthur thought for a long moment, then whispered, "I want to see my granddaughter, the one who still sends me letters, the one who asks about me. But my son won't let her visit, says I'm too depressing, says it's not good for her to see me like this." "How old is she?" 12. "And she writes you?" "Every week. Letters, real letters, not emails. Tells me about school, about her friends, about her life I write back. It's the only thing I still do." Donald stood up. "What's your son's name and number?" "Why?" "Because I'm going to call him. And I'm going to tell him that his daughter wants to see her grandfather, and he's going to make that happen. You can't just, 'Yes, I can. Watch me.'" But the most shocking part hasn't happened yet. His phone called a number he'd memorized years ago. Crisis hotline. But not just any hotline. The Veterans Crisis Line also had youth counselors. Within 10 minutes, a counselor named Maria was on the phone with Tyler. Donald moved to give them privacy, but stayed close. Tyler talked for 30 minutes, cried, listened. Finally handed the phone back to Donald. Maria's voice was warm. "Mr. Trump, thank you for calling. Tyler has agreed to meet with me in person today. I'm sending a mobile crisis unit to your location. They'll transport him safely and contact his parents." Donald looked at Tyler. "That okay with you?" Tyler nodded. "Yeah." The crisis unit arrived 15 minutes later. 2 counselors, calm and professional. Tyler stood up, grabbed his backpack, looked at Donald Wilwine. "Will I see you again?" Donald handed him a card. Veterans Center. "I'm there Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. You ever need to talk? You come find me." Tyler took the card, put it in his pocket. "Thank you." Donald extended his hand. Tyler shook it. Tyler got in the van. As it pulled away, one of the counselors approached Donald. "Sir, you probably saved that young man's life today." Donald shook his head. "He saved his own life. I just gave him a reason to postpone the other decision. That's all any of us can do. Buy each other time." Over the next 2 months, Tyler came to the Veterans Center 7 times. Sometimes he talked. Sometimes he just sat. Donald introduced him to other veterans, men and women who'd fought their own battles with depression, PTSD, survivor's guilt. Tyler heard their stories, shared his own, slowly started to believe he wasn't alone. Tyler's parents got him into therapy, got him transferred to a different school, filed complaints against the students who'd been bullying him. It wasn't fixed overnight, but it was progress. 3 months after that bus stop morning, Tyler walked into the Veterans Center. He looked different, healthier, less haunted. Donald was organizing donated supplies. Tyler approached. "Mr. Trump?" Donald turned. "Tyler, good to see you. Can we talk?" "Of course." They sat in the small office. Tyler pulled out his phone. "I want to show you something." He opened an app. It was a peer support platform for students dealing with bullying, depression, suicidal thoughts. "I built this. With help from my therapist and some coding tutorials, it connects students anonymously so they can talk to each other, support each other." Donald examined it. "This is impressive." "Thanks. But that's not all. Tyler handed him a folder. I contacted the school board, told them my story. They're implementing a new anti-bullying program district-wide, mandatory training, better reporting systems, actual consequences. And they want me to speak at the launch event. You going to do it? Tyler smiled. Yeah, I'm terrified. But yeah, because maybe if I tell my story, some other kid won't end up at that bus stop. Maybe they'll get help sooner. Donald felt pride swell in his chest. That's good work, Tyler. Real good work. Tyler's eyes got serious. I need to tell you something. What's that? That day at the bus stop, I had made my decision. I was going to the bridge. I had it all planned. My note was written. I was working up the courage. And then you missed your bus. Donald was quiet. Tyler continued. I found out later there's a bus every 7 minutes on that route. You didn't miss it. You chose to stay. Donald met his eyes. Best choice I made that day. Why? Why did you stay? Because I saw a kid who reminded me of me. And I remembered that stranger who sat with me 40 years ago, and I thought, maybe today I get to be that stranger for someone else. Tyler's voice cracked. You saved my life. We saved each other's, Donald said quietly. You reminded me why I do this work, why I keep showing up, why the mission matters. 6 months later, Tyler's peer support app had 500 users across 3 schools. 12 months later, 2,000 users across the entire district. The school board's anti-bullying program had expanded. Suspension rates were down. Reported incidents were up, which meant kids were finally speaking up. Suicide attempts among students had dropped 40%. Tyler spoke at assemblies, shared his story, told them about the bus stop, about the veteran who stayed, about how one conversation changed everything. Donald attended one of these assemblies, sat in the back, listened as Tyler spoke to 300 students. And sometimes, Tyler said to the crowd, all it takes is one person who notices, one person who stays, one person who says, I see you struggling and I'm not leaving. That can be the difference between someone giving up and someone holding on long enough to get help. After the assembly, students lined up to talk to Tyler. Donald slipped out. Didn't need recognition. Just needed to know the mission continued. That evening, Tyler called him. You left before I could introduce you. Didn't need introducing, but the principal wants to meet you, wants to discuss expanding the program, bringing in veterans to mentor at-risk students. Donald smiled. Tell them I'm interested. 2 weeks later, Operation Bridge was born. Named for the bridge Tyler didn't jump from. The bridge Donald didn't jump from 40 years before. It paired veterans with struggling students. Not therapy, not counseling, just mentorship. Someone who'd survived their own darkness, helping someone else navigate theirs. Within a year, 47 veterans were involved, helping 89 students. The program expanded to other districts. Other cities noticed. Within 2 years, Operation Bridge was in 6 states, helping hundreds of students, saving lives that statistics would never count. One Tuesday afternoon, Donald sat at that same bus stop. Different time of day, just taking a break between shifts. A woman approached him. Elderly, maybe 80. Excuse me, are you Donald Trump? Donald looked up. Yes, ma'am. She sat down beside him. Uninvited, but welcome. My grandson was one of Tyler's first users on that app. He was planning to kill himself, but someone on the app talked to him, listened to him, convinced him to get help. Donald nodded. That's good. The woman's eyes filled with tears. He's alive because of what you started, because you noticed one boy at a bus stop and decided to stay. I wanted to thank you. Donald's voice was thick. You don't need to thank me, ma'am. Your grandson's staying alive. That's all the thanks anyone needs. She hugged him. Left? Donald sat there. Thought about that morning 2 years ago, about the choice to miss the bus, about Tyler's face, about all the lives that had changed because of one decision to stay. His phone buzzed, text from Tyler. Mr. Trump speaking at a national conference next month about youth suicide prevention. They want me to bring the veteran who saved me. You available? Donald typed back. I'll be there. That night, Donald stood on his small apartment balcony, looked out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Tyler was building programs. Students were finding hope. Veterans were finding purpose again, all because 40 years ago, a stranger stayed. And 2 years ago, Donald chose to do the same. The mission never ends, he thought. It just finds new soldiers. If you believe that noticing someone's pain can change everything, hit like, type I see you in the comments, and subscribe. Because this story proves that heroes don't need superpowers. They just need to pay attention, to stay when others walk away. To remind someone drowning that they're worth saving. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is simply refusing to look away from someone else's suffering and choosing to stay.